Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing my first round game from the 4th Cleveland Go Club Ratings Tournament. This is a tournament that I helped not only set up and after the tournament cleanup, but I was also the tournament director during the event, meaning I put together the pairings for each round. And so it was a long day. It was a very long day. It was a fun event though. I really enjoyed it. And the reason that made it so fun was one, this was our biggest turnout for this event. We had 18 players come and play. Our previous highest was 16, so 18 was very good. But the large part of why we had so many players is because we had a lot of players out of town. So there was a group of people from out of town, I think 7 people or so, 7 or 8 that came in from out of town. And yeah, it meant that because in previous iteration of this tournament, I believe even the last one that had 8 players, not only did I basically just play everyone I can just play normally in Cleveland, but I also played all handicap. And I believe every iteration, 1, 2, and 3, I played handicap and white. But so the second reason that the players coming in was so valuable for us, but more specifically me, is they brought in some strong players, some very strong players. And so that meant for the first time in this tournament, I was able to play no handicap games. In fact, I even played black in one of my games, which is a first for this tournament series. So I was super excited for this tournament. I think I forgot to say, but this tournament was on December 8th, I believe. A Sunday. The time settings for the event were 30 minutes with 3 30-second overtime. We played 4 rounds. We even had like an hour lunch break, and we still finished before 6 o'clock. So the time settings might sound long, but we actually ended early, so it was super nice. But yeah, my first round opponent, Ragnar, is somebody who, one, I've played in this tournament before, but also somebody I know very well now because he was my student as of a week ago at this game. He's gotten very strong in the short amount of time that I was his teacher, and I basically said, or we both agreed that, yeah, it's time for you to move on to greater teachers. And so he actually has a new teacher. But it's just funny that the week that we decided that is the week that we play in tournaments. And to put it in perspective, the last time Ragnar and I played, I believe it was a 6-stone game. It was at this tournament, actually. I can't remember if it was the first or second one. But we played there. He was black, or he was 2Q. I was 5-don at the time, so we played a 6-stone game. And to not sugarcoat it, he lost in about 100 moves. It was a super quick game. We were the first game finished, I remember, in that tournament. Now we're playing 4 stones, and we are the longest game that went on during the first round. We were the last people playing during the first round. So he's come a long way. I knew this was not going to be easy. So yeah, let's get right into it. And also because we try to play every week as well, and we play 3 stones, 4-stone games. So he knows a lot of, I won't say tricks, but a lot of what I'm looking for. So that's another thing that's not at the back of my head because I don't want it to affect me, but it is something to keep in mind that, yeah, he's seen a lot of my moves, if you will. Because I as opposed to other strong players that play handicap, I have a very different style in handicap games. But yeah, enough yapping. Let's get into the first round game. And so already you can see, like, some players like to play this because it just connects up all their stones, but you still have weaknesses. Let me turn on coordinates. You still have weaknesses at R8 and R12. So you still need more moves to fix the right side. And so if let's say black plays here, and there's a weakness here, right? Even if I fix like this, and let's do the same thing here. I fix like this. Black is getting more in the corners than I am on the right side. So it's just not worth it to add this final stone here. So I just go elsewhere. And black plays on the right side. And this is black's superpower. He's very good at ignoring. He's very good at ignoring. And so, especially in the opening, you know, ignoring is more common, but still, playing this move is such a powerful move, especially after getting your two backoffs at 017 and 04. So black goes there, and we can tell it's a big move because I don't go elsewhere, right? I could get my follow-up here, but yeah, the right side's what's big, so I play towards the top. This is a nice sequence to play when you want to play on both sides. The idea with this move is if black blocks, there are two options. We'll block, all right, technically three, but we'll go over two. The block or the move black plays in the game. If black goes here, the idea is white wants to attach, right? So it's very similar to playing this one, right, and black hanes, but the difference is if black hanes now, well, I get a very good Atari here. And this is good enough for white to now leave it. So now I would go and handle my lower right stone. This is the idea, somehow. Maybe peep, connect, and maybe come out. Something, right? Something. So that's the idea. That's what white wants, right? Now black can avoid that by extending first, and then haneing. White's now going to turn, and black has a few options here. Black could just ignore. Black could just ignore. Hane in the corner is quite big, though. Hane in the corner is quite big. So it's kind of strange, but the best move for black, if black wants to continue locally, is actually just connect. Again, this looks like a very strange move, but the idea is if you play here to prevent the Atari at p15, white's going to hane, like so. But if you descend to prevent the hane, white's going to Atari here. So this is the only move that actually prevents white from getting what white wants. White can't go here now without getting cut, and white can't go here now without blocking. So black's actually preventing both of those possibilities. So yeah, black could go elsewhere or just connect, and white would probably continue now that white's heavy, and yeah, I'd probably jump, and then black can continue in the lower side. Yeah, and so this is honestly the one white probably prefers more. So the move black plays in the game is very nice for black because, yeah, while the positions are probably equal, white definitely prefers the other variation. But now I have to play down, hane. And there's an order of moves here that black misses. If black hanes first, white fixes, and then turns. White has to Atari, and then black Ataris. And now black does something else. Maybe just jump here. Maybe just jump here. I think this is a lot better way of playing for black. Now the move black ends up playing in the game, or the variation, but it was still okay, but black needed to get the correct follow-up. Needed to use the stone they end up playing. Because we'll see that black ends up turning, then pushing again, so I'm able to hane here. Now when black blocks, I just go elsewhere. So black can still Atari, so we can see black ends up playing 015, which again isn't the worst move ever, but black needed to use it. So for example, black could just jump right now. This jump is super hard for white to ignore. If white does ignore it, black's able to get maybe this move. Yeah, something like this. And if white has to play M18, hane, capture, connect, this is so painful for white. White is squeezed all the way down. White is squeezed all the way down. And so white really will probably answer, and then black can play the move they end up playing. So again, I like this move, 015, if black uses it. But we'll see black doesn't actually end up using it, which is why I would much rather prefer ending up getting this move. Because this is keeping that one white stone on the right side at bay. So but black pincers, I jump, and black jumps again. And yeah, this was surprising to me because usually this is the common move. This is if black wants to build the bottom, but there's something, I wouldn't say bad that black did, but black needed an extra move on the bottom, I think. Because if you're especially going to play this, you're going to have to pay for it on the left side, right? So we do this. Now, the difference between playing this, or some move on the bottom, is I'm going to play the same exact move. The difference is, when you protect the corner, this weakness that white has here is less of a problem for white. Is less of a problem for white. Because if you do try to push through and cut, I can still manage this fight. Right? I can play something like h5, and you can split me, but, you know, especially in a handicap game, I can't fix all my weaknesses. You know, I got to play with some speed. So this kind of fight would be okay for white, considering the circumstances. But when black jumps, you can see if I try to now maybe extend along the side there, yeah, this cut just hurts a lot more. Because this stone is, in fact, in the spot white wants to play. Or even if white blocks, black's able to wedge and just take profit on the bottom. So, yeah. That's why I end up playing this move. It's fixing it by being able to, let's see, maybe make that exchange and then stand up like that. And you can see now my stone's at the perfect spot to net it. So again, as opposed to fixing it directly like something like this, or even playing this move, which would be kind of the standard shape point, I imagine black has already pushed through, and then I try to fix. So yeah, so here, this is where I think black needs to, you don't want to spend too many moves on the bottom, of course. So I like black's move here, but maybe right here, this is where, excuse me, black needs to play something on the bottom. So what black does is black plays on top. Which again is possible, but let me talk about the bottom first, because I also showed this variation, right, where it's putting less pressure on this group, but the difference is black's bottom is now secure. When you one space jump up like this, you need an extra move on the bottom, right? You don't have a base now. Now it is true that you can connect at F2 anytime, but for example, white could play M3, right? White could split at L4. White can end up peeping here, which is what I end up playing later. So black needs some move on the bottom. So I think instead of playing up top, black should, what would I do? Maybe just shoulder hit like this. And if white answers here, I just crawl up like this, extend up. Doing something to help my bottom side group. Black pincers. So again, I think pincer is okay. But again, black needs to use the stone. So I think, for one, again, L17, basically black had a lot of chances to attack the upper right white stones, but black never does. So I think if black just extends here, it's hard for whites. If white shoulder hits like this, black can M18 threaten to save N17. And you can see white doesn't have two eyes now. So white will probably fix here. This, for the most part, makes white alive. But now black can play whatever move black wants to play. Now black has helped the top stones. And I even think if it was me, I would just, again, just fix my shape. And this connects up all my stones and starting to seal white in. Black extends, which again, this is reasonable. I take the corner because if you look at this board, I kind of need some cash. And then black kicks. So black ends up kicking, but at this stage, like standing up won't really get me that much. In fact, it'll probably help black build the bottom. So first I peep. See how black's going to play. Depending on how black might play, maybe I want to play R3. Sorry, I might want to play R3 instead, right? Depending on how black answers my peep, I'm going to change how I answer. So I peep, black is there. And then so I stand up. And then black gets the follow-up. And that's one of the biggest things, or one of the key takeaways that black got from my lessons as my student was, get your follow-ups. Get your follow-ups. So the fact that black kicked, white ignored, black wants to get this follow-up, and that makes sense. But I still think the bottom side needs some sort of answer. It needs some sort of answer. So, because again, it's keeping white weak and this peeping stone weak and keeping black strong. In the game, when black goes here, white bumps here, and this destroys all of black's shape. This destroys all of black's shape. And now black has to, like, black technically can connect, but we can see that the shape isn't so good. So I think black has the right idea of just extending, but look at how light I can play, and black has to kind of give it up. So I think instead, if black's willing to ignore here, black should be willing to ignore here. I would just do something else. Maybe something like this. Again, you can play what you just played anytime. You can play that sequence anytime. And if white has to play some move to defend it, then again, you get to move somewhere else. So I think doing this immediately to take Gote, I think wasn't the best decision. Now again, this can be the best decision if you attack these 3 stones. But again, we'll see black doesn't get to attack them. White slides, and black does a very nice move here. This is a very nice move. Because black wants to block, and even in some cases save, but can't save now. And even if this happens, black's group on the left is not fully alive. Like again, if we do something like this, moves like B10 start to really hurt black's base. So black would like to be able to block here, but also fix the stone at D16. So black attaches, and again, this is such a nice move. If extend here, black's going to use this exchange. Black's now going to block this way. Black's going to block this way. And if white pushes, this exchange, as opposed to getting B14, getting the stones out in the center is worth a lot more. Or black's going to just treat everything lightly and just jump out something like this. And again, it's hard to attack this very light shape. So since I want to build the top, I hane here, but black's able to pull back. And again, compare that to if you just go here to fix. White has a weakness in this shape, and yeah, white has extended liberties. But like this, you can see white's 2 stones aren't connected. So now black's able to block. But remember, black had a lot of chance to do this, but now white was able to N15. So again, black had a lot of chances to either extend here, jump, or even just make that exchange, or just jump and force white to extend. But black never had the chance, or never found the chance maybe, and in the process, white was able to get the hane. And then black goes here. So black told me this was specifically looking at the cut at G15. Without that cut though, this move is hard to use. Because again, yes, it's looking at the cut, but besides that, there's no real point value in it. Plus, you've made a 3-space jump into the center. So this move could be cut if you're not careful. And so instead, so black's looking at the G15 weakness, that's fine. But instead, black should be looking at these 3 stones on the bottom instead. Black should be looking to do something to surround the bottom side stones. Those are things that black can directly attack. And again, because you're attacking from this direction, white has to be careful about the left side now. The left side is potentially weak. So white hanes here. This is again just an asking move. Black, are you going to go here or are you going to go here? And this kind of move, you really should just answer. Again, in my last video, I guess, but the last video was an interesting game review with 2 pros, Koje and Choijang. The key of that game was basically be as stubborn as possible. Try not answering any of your opponent, do what you want to do, that kind of thing. And so I understand black's feeling of, I do not want to just spend a move to answer white, right? I don't want to do that, but sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and do it. This is one of those cases. This Atari that white ends up getting is just worth so much. It's just worth so much. So black just needs to decide now, and that's probably why black left is. Black was like, okay, I don't know whether I want to go here or here, right? So maybe that's why black left it. Also, black cut, so black's using the follow-up of G11. So maybe that's another reason, but we'll see. White Ataris and connects, and you can see these stones here are very weak. Are very weak. And it might look strange because, especially when you're in a very local fight, like we're not talking about groups, we're talking about a crosscuts and liberties. Like that's all we're talking about on the top. You might think, why would you Atari your opponent towards their stone, right? Like, why would you Atari them towards H17, right? Don't you want to keep them separated? That is a usual and very normal train of thought. But in this case, in this specific shape, because you can connect here, look how many liberties these black stones don't have. These black stones don't have. Whereas if you Atari the other way, notice you have to spend more moves to keep them separated. Black even gets this Atari, and now look at your shape, and all of a sudden look at your 2 stones. So we're actually looking at helping our 2 stones in the center and weakening black's shape here. So, yeah. Black Hanes. And then attaches. Sure. Atari. Yeah, and white gets that Atari, and that's already enough gain for white on the right side. So white just answers, goes there, and black makes a ko. Okay. Black Ataris. Where's black's ko threat? So probably cutting once is okay, but we'll see. I even push here, and black makes the ko even bigger. So, yeah, I take the ko. We can see now black's using this ladder as ko threats, and technically they are threats, but you don't want to try to use threats that are that costly, right? You don't want to have to spend an arm and a leg to make a ko threat work. Or to win a ko fight, I should say. Because I can just extend. Because we'll see. I take the ko. Even, by the way, even if you plan on just ignoring or losing the ko, make your opponent use a ko threat. So I'm making black use these ko threats here. So I just extend. And we'll see. Black takes. Usually this kind of shape, black has almost a double Ponuki shape, right? That's what? If 1 Ponuki is 30 points, 2 must be 60, right? That's in an empty board. When we see where these Ponukis are positioned, they're facing a very compact left side. So it's not worth as much. And remember, black has ignored L3 as a ko threat, given me this very strong shape at the top with that kind of H14 bean shape. And I was able to Atari at P6. So this whole sequence, starting with black cutting, technically black going here, but definitely black ignoring this Hane here. White has now taken over the lead. And because I just fix my shape and fix my shape. And I've gained enough on the top and the lower right to be able to just forfeit the ko fight there. So black plays there. This is black trying to attack the right side, which is good. And then clamp. Yeah, again, there's no real best move for black. Like, if you ever try to cut, I'm just going to Atari and even just fix, honestly. I just fix. If you cut the other way, I'll do the same thing. Maybe I'll Atari, but definitely just, you know, think about staying light. Maybe play here next. So it's hard to get a great response on the right side. And part of the problem is white is now so thick in the center. White is now so thick in the center. So I just connect. Black cuts. And this looks very vulgar, and it very much is. No doubt about it. But it does end up working for white. So I'm able to cut here, Atari down. And again, black doesn't really want to seal me in, right? Like, black could go here, but there's not much gain in the center, right? So black has to really just extend down like this. I guess there's technically a world where black goes here and connects, and now forces me into the center. I think this is probably black's best way of playing. But this stone here has so much Aji, which is why early on, if you play Q13, that stone is subdued a lot. So, yeah. Black does it this way. I descend. Black will cut first. This is good timing. If you try to cut later, like, black has to play S6, no doubt about it. But if you do this first and then cut here, white's not going to care about that stone anymore. That stone's only important because you haven't played S6 yet. But now I can play S16. This has been on the board this whole time. The thing is, though, this is a move that black has to pay for at some point. So white doesn't need to feel the need to play it automatically. I often see players, if they see a weakness, they have to get it. But if black has to spend a move anytime during the game, then it's like white giving up a ko, right? Getting 2 moves in a row. That can be as valuable as making these exchanges. So if black attached to, this is a nice idea. It's definitely big enough just to connect the corner. Not only do you make an eye this way, but it is just a lot of points. I get black's feeling, though, of they were worried about like getting surrounded somehow. But you need to keep the points in the center, in the corner, I mean. Even if something like this happens, you just have to bite the bullet. You just have to deal with whatever happens here. And again, white really can't be too overly aggressive because white themselves is not alive also. So, yeah. Black needs to keep the points in the corner because what happens is black plays there, and I should just cut here, even though I get squeezed down a little bit like this. There's no reason to just extend here. It's way too small. But black connects here and lets me cut. Look how big that is. That is humongous. It's humongous. So black clamps, so I can push through. And yeah, look how many points I've made now on the upper right and yeah, the upper right area. So yeah, even Atari here. And so black actually gets a huge lower right, but had to pay a huge price on the upper right. So yeah, peep. This is a nice peep because black technically could save R12 and I would have to play move in the corner. But yeah, just at this point, black's just too far behind for any way to catch up. There's one more final thing that's worth mentioning, but from here, all of these games, by the way, I will have linked in the video description if you do want to check them out at your own pace. They will be in the video description. Look for the Go Kifu link. Look for that link. This is a nice move because it's me-I whichever way I connect. So black blocks there, I can play here. If black plays the other diagonal, then I can play here. So this is a nice, a direct application of me-I, where if you play this one, I'll play the other one. So yeah, pushing through here. This was actually quite big now because before, black could give up the 3 and then be able to push through like this. But now, with these stones on the outside, black doesn't get those pushes. So the cut is very big now. So I think black really should even just... Again, black needs to find the timing, maybe here. But pushing here is actually quite large. Because if white does nothing, like let's say white plays what black plays, black can push here. And if white blocks, Atari, black's actually cut off these stones here. And if white has to answer, like even if white answers like this, right, this is still threatening to cut. Black can play this move to fix while threatening to cut off the 2. So again, I think these stones are worth it to save, especially this late in the game. I think this is the second biggest thing, but yeah, white being able to push here and fix, yeah, this is very painful for black, or black loses a lot here. So connect, black peeps. Yeah, black would like to cut, but you will actually lose these 2 whether you do it this way and like this. So yeah, that's why black peeps. I can get this Hane first. Generally, it's better to just J2, even though this shape occurs. Now you can at least cut at G2. The only reason why you would play K2 directly is 1, co-threats, but 2, if you can get J1, technically now you won't have to fix at M3 because connect and go here, right? But you can see that takes 2 goatee moves to save 2 points. So it's better to usually better to just allow white to take this Sente Atari, but now you can cut at G2. So black went here. So got to fix there. And here, because black is behind here, black's going to fight this go because there's nothing to lose, right? So it's best just to let black get a few points there, and yeah. But yeah, this was a first round game. Again, overall, I think black played very well. And yeah, it was a tough game for white here. And again, as his teacher, we've talked about kind of like what should you be working on, and it again, like opening was perfectly fine. I didn't see many, if any, mistakes. Again, a lot of the things in the opening are preference. What do you like? You're basically setting yourself up for a position in the middle game that you like. So again, I think black had a lot of different choices, but black chose the ones black liked the most, which makes sense. It was just the fighting, and again, that's not unique to just this game. That's any and most handicap games. So yeah, I think black played very well. Again, we were the longest game. We were the longest game that was played. So yeah, I actually had to for the last like 20 moves really had to use the restroom, but I could not because we were in Byoyomi at this point. But yeah, we ended up both passing and going to counting technically, but we didn't end up counting. It was like once we saw the board position, black was like, okay, yeah, you've won. So this is a little interesting, I guess. What's bigger, cutting or playing K1? So I played K1. The idea with K1 is if you cut here, I'm not just gonna push. I can actually play M1 because if you cut, I cut you. So black has to connect, I connect, black has to play N1, and then I even get O2 into playing N4. So look how many points this costs black for not answering. So again, just any extra point you can squeak out like here, it's worth it. But yeah, just go ahead a few moves, and I guess technically I think black did this, yeah, and then went here. But yeah, we both passed on the board, or yeah, on the board it was white by I think 30 points, like on the dot, 30.5 I guess. But yeah, I was definitely happy with how I played, especially again considering I had to get there early to help set up and move tables and chairs. Although technically, the people that came in also were up early because they had to do the long drive here. So yeah. But yeah, if you have any questions about this game, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video.